There are 53 fully evolved ghost types in Pokemon. This includes Megas, Arceus, and Silvally. Let's rank all of them right now in the context of competitive singles. But first, thank you to Raycon for sponsoring this video. I was lucky enough to try Raycon's new Essential Open Earbuds, and they're fantastic. Sometimes I want to listen to my favorite music, podcasts, or audiobook while staying connected to my surroundings. These open earbuds are exactly what I needed. I use these while reading and doing housework, and I find it to be a seamless experience for me. With these, you can stay tuned in to co-workers, family, or whatever's happening around you without losing out on music or podcast quality. These earbuds are lightweight, comfortable, but still deliver premium audio quality at half the price of the big brands. I use this and you should too. Black Friday is around the corner, and Raycon audio products are up to 30% off site-wide, from everyday essentials to the latest releases. It's the perfect time to upgrade your sound or get ahead on gifting. These early deals won't last long. Shop now before they're gone. Just click the link in the description or go to buyraycon.com/JimothyCoolOpen to save on Raycon audio products site-wide. That's buyraycon.com/JimothyCoolOpen. Thank you to Raycon for sponsoring this video. At the very bottom of the list, the worst ghost type in the game, Gourgeist. A Pokemon themed around a Halloween pumpkin. This grass ghost type has a pitiful existence, and in competitive singles it has exclusively been ranked in the lowest tier of ZU, failing to even really achieve much there. There are technically different forms of this Pokemon with slightly different stats. The best of them probably Gourgeist Super, which has the highest HP stat of 85, but even this one is a terrible Pokemon, so I'm going to lump all these forms together, since they're not even very different from each other, and the best of them all is still garbage. Gourgeist is a ghost grass type, which can be a good typing depending on the Pokemon, but here it's not doing you any favors with your low speed and poor special defense, leaving you vulnerable to all of the really common special attacks in the game, like Flamethrower, Ice Beam, Dark Pulse, Shadow Ball, Air Slash, Hurricane, etc. Gourgeist has a high physical defense stat. I suppose the outer layer of a pumpkin is pretty sturdy, but that doesn't provide you much value. Unfortunately, you can't leverage that good defense stat for very much value on this Pokemon. It doesn't have any good or novel defensive ability. Its abilities are Pickup, which is useless, Frisk, which is basically useless, scouting the enemy item, and Insomnia, which is its most useful ability, granting sleep immunity, but it's already a grass type, so it's immune to powder moves such as Sleep Powder and Spore. Feels like a bit of a waste to give a grass type Insomnia. You'd rather something else more useful. So you got basically no good ability here. Your move pool is typical of a grass type and a ghost type. You've got Will-O-Wisp, Leech Seed, Synthesis, which are decent options, but you are outclassed by just about every other ghost or grass type in existence, unfortunately. There is nothing particularly special about Gourgeist. Is its design even that good? I don't hate it, but I don't love it either. It's got a weird cylindrical neck. I don't know if I support that. It's got hair coming off of it. Do I support the hair? Not so sure. What's the hair made out of? What's it made out of? So I'm asking questions that I don't want answers to. I'm not sure about Gourgeist, visually speaking. I'm sort of neutral on it. If you're a Gourgeist fan, I apologize for the slander here, but it's true, and you shouldn't be too upset because pumpkins in real life are not meant for combat, so it would be stupid for the pumpkin Pokemon to be combat prone. That wouldn't really be a good adaptation of the vegetable. Pumpkins are used for sustenance and for Halloween decoration. You can make a pumpkin porridge or a pumpkin soup. You don't use a pumpkin as a weapon. That's stupid, man. So of course the pumpkin Pokemon is not very good in battle. In the Pokemon universe, it's not used for that. You catch a Gourgeist for Halloween later in the year, or something. Put a Gourgeist outside your house for some flavor. And that's all we can ask for. Up next we have Corsola, a Pokemon that is a evolution of Galarian Corsola, who's a regional form of the original Corsola, which is a water rock type. This is an evolution of an inversion of a Pokemon. And Corsola is cool, I think. It's a mono ghost type, and it's based on a dead coral in the ocean. Bit of commentary on pollution in the ocean or something like that. I enjoy the concept of the Pokemon. I enjoy its visual design and its name. Unfortunately, in battle, not a great choice. It does have a very impressive 145 base special attack stat. That's very good. And it's got a high special defense as well. But it's really damn slow. Extraordinarily slow with only 30 speed. And with such a terrible HP stats, it also ends up being frail. Even though it has a high special defense, Shadow Ball is the most common special attack, so you're just weak to that. You're probably not taking big neutral special attacks very well either with that low HP. And when you switch in, what the hell are you even doing if you're not getting 2-hit KO'd to begin with? So Cursola just is slow, meaning it needs its bulk to pose a threat, and then it's not bulky enough to pose a threat. What does it do? Well, it clicks Shadow Ball. It can be used on Trick Room teams, I suppose, but that's a bad archetype in singles. Cursola does have the very interesting ability Perish Body, which actually activates the Perish Song effect when you receive physical contact. It's a pretty cool ability idea. It ends up being awkward though, because you end up putting Perish Song on yourself as well, which sometimes you don't want. So Cursola tends to run weak armor instead, wherein if it takes a physical hit, it gets a speed boost and lowers its defense. But then your defense is really bad, so you're not great at taking a physical hit. At least this gives you some speed to pose a threat though. This is the best thing you can do with Cursola really, is run weak armor. Invest in some speed, so after the weak armor boost, you're at least fast enough to Shadow Ball something and then use it as a breaker. But even in Gen 8 ZU, this is not very good. It's a Pokemon with a real uphill battle to exist in the first place, and isn't that true in real life of the coral it is based on? Victim to ocean pollution or something like that. As a work of art, Cursola is very profound. As a Pokemon in battle scenarios, it is not very good though. Up next, Trevenant. I quite like the visual of this Pokemon. I mean, ghostly tree possessed by a spirit is a pretty common creature archetype, but I do like it, even if it is a bit overdone. And this is a good incarnation of it. It's a nice, freaky looking tree. And we value that. At least I value that. Trevenant is a good name too. But this Pokemon's awkward. It's a grass ghost type as well, much like Gourgeist, and it is quite a bit better than Gourgeist because it has abilities that do something. Natural Cure will heal status on switch out. And now that I'm looking at what's the flavor reason for this getting Natural Cure? Does a tree cure itself naturally? But I think there's other tree Pokemon that don't get Natural Cure, and I'm not aware of trees curing themselves naturally in real life. Sometimes they need maintenance and stuff from outside sources. Are they just naturally resistant to poison or burning? I think they're quite vulnerable to being burned, in fact, in real life. So does that make any sense? I'm not sure. Harvest, though, is its other ability, which definitely makes sense. Trees do grow fruit and berries and such. Harvest is a good ability that gives you a 50% chance at the end of turn to restore a berry, 100% if Sun is active. Harvest tends to be a good ability in random battles, if you play random battles. Harvest Pokemon often just recycle their citrus berry over and over and use substitute leech seed to just heal constantly and be pretty annoying. Generally pretty nice in random battle. In normal singles formats though, Trevenant is not very good. Its most impressive stat is its high attack of 110. It's got a decent HP of 85, but its defenses are low and its speed is low. With a solid attack stat and a pretty good physical move pool with Woodhammer for stab and Rock Slide Earthquake as coverage, you can run this as like a Choice Band breaker in lower tiers, but the speed is the real killer there. You're not very fast, and without speed you don't pose much of a threat, and you're not bulky enough to take that many hits either, so just the frailty and slowness of this Pokemon mean it doesn't really thrive in any area, offensively or defensively, and that is not very good. The only place you're really happy to see Trevenant is in random battle, where it actually is good, but in normal tiers, unfortunately, it isn't great. Up next is Sill Valley Ghost. This may seem kind of low for Sill Valley, but in truth, this Pokemon is pretty unremarkable. Sill Valley has a similar gimmick to Arceus, where it can be any type in the game with the correct memory item equipped, which changes its type and the type of its attack. Multi-attack, which is like a physical version of Judgment. Sill Valley has 95 stats across the board. But the Pokemon is just plain and often outclassed by other ghost types, even in lower tiers. Sill Valley has existed in 2 gens, Gen 7 and 8. Ghost Sill Valley you'd think would be one of the better ones, it's a great type, but Ghost Sill Valley is PU in both of these gens. Its move pool is decent, with Swords Dance sets that can be good, and multi-attack being a pretty strong ghost physical move. But other than that, Sill Valley has no great utility. It inherently lacks item variety because it has to run this crappy ghost memory, and unlike Arceus with its place, the ghost memory itself doesn't really provide a benefit. It's just sort of a plain item that does nothing. So that means even a pretty low tier ghost type with an item is going to be more useful than Sill Valley, because it can run like a Colbur Berry to live a hit from knockoff or something. I honestly contemplated not even putting Silvally on the list, just because it's such a boring Pokemon, there's very little to say about it. I can't even riff and make a joke about Silvally, because it's just like bad Arceus. What is there to say? But I put it here anyway, just for consistency's sake, because if I'm going to rank Arceus, I should rank this too. They both would count as existing Pokemon. Silvally Ghost does exist, and I can say that that's its most noteworthy trait. But other than that, what can be said about Silvally Ghost? Little. Very little. Up next is Banette, my personal favorite ghost type. I love ghostly puppet character with zip mouth. Visually a beautiful creature in my opinion. Small but threatening. Unfortunately though, Banette does not have an impressive competitive career, and all you need to do is look at it for a moment to see why. It is frail and slow. And we know that's a terrible death sentence for most Pokemon. You want to be one or the other in terms of bulky or fast. If you're fast, you attack first, so you don't need to take a hit, and you can get the guy. If you're bulky, you can take a hit and strike next. But if you're frail and slow, it's the worst of both worlds. And usually it's a big uphill battle to be competitively viable. Banette suffers from this majorly. A lot of you probably thought of Banette as the worst ghost type in the game, and there's an argument for that. It is, in modern gens, completely terrible. But I will give Banette some respect for its sort of okay role in early games. When it released, it was Gen 3, and back then it was noteworthy as the only viable physical ghost type in the game, really. Back then there were almost no ghost types in existence, and Banette had a pretty high attack stat for the time of 115. If you don't know, back then in Gen 3, the physical special split had not happened yet, so Ghost could only be physical as an attacking type, which was bad news for like Gengar and Miss Drevis and such, ghost types that don't have high physical attack stats. But Banette set itself apart for that reason, and Banette is probably my favorite niche pick in Gen 3 OU, because with Shadow Ball and HP Fighting, it has great physical coverage, and it hits a lot of the things that ghost types hate. Ghost types hate Claydol and Starmie because they are rapid spinners, and they can usually threaten ghost types. But Banette strikes them with a Stab Shadow Ball, which is super effective since they are both psychic types. So that's huge. You can actually switch in on a Claydol rapid spin and pose a serious threat to it with your massive super effective Stab Shadow Ball. HP Fighting threatens Pursuit Tyranitar, the most common anti-ghost type Pokemon in the game, with ×4 super effective damage. And that's also enormous, because ghost types usually just lose hard to Pursuit Tyranitar, but not Banette. You also have Will-O-Wisp, which is a sought-after move in Gen 3 that not many Pokemon get, and Will-O-Wisp will hit most other switch-outs in the game. Like Skarmory or Blissey don't really want to take Will-O-Wisp. Blissey also vulnerable to HP Fighting. Snorlax, of course, doesn't want to take Will-O-Wisp. Will-O-Wisp is a great move in Gen 3, it's hard to switch in against. There's not many fire types, and most Pokemon don't want to get burned. Now, Banette's not great in Gen 3 or anything, it's still suffering from the frailty and low speed, but it is at least unique. It at least does something unique in that generation, which gives it some niche viability. Because being a physical ghost type back then was a novel thing. In modern gens though, Banette's tools are no longer novel. There's plenty of physical ghost types, plenty of Pokemon with Will-O-Wisp and Knockoff, Taunt. Those options that were once unique and sought after are now no longer that, and Banette is completely outclassed by just about every other ghost type in the game, at least with its role of like physical attacking ghost type. But I'll give Banette some respect for initially being a pretty unique Pokemon and setting itself apart. Even just a little bit. You can't say the same about Silvally, can you? It was just sort of unremarkable as soon as it came into existence. Plus, I value Banette very much. And it is one of my favorite Pokemon, so I am biased, and I will not apologize for being biased either. Up next is Dusknoir, who was released in Gen 4 as a new evolution for Dusclops. And it was a much beloved Pokemon back then, so much so that it was ranked OU by usage in Gen 4. But if you've ever played Gen 4 OU in modern times, you would know that this rating is incredibly outdated, and Dusknoir is barely viable in Gen 4, if at all. Dusknoir has a lot of problems. Yes, it has great defensive stats, 135 in its defense and special defense, but its HP is extraordinarily low, and it's very slow, 45 in both its HP and speed. It ends up being fairly bulky just because those defensive stats are so great, but it's difficult for Dusknoir to leverage that bulk for any meaningful advantage. It is prone to getting chipped down by hazards very easily. It doesn't have a good healing move. And it is in this awkward position where it's been designed as sort of a bulky attacker, but it's not quite bulky enough to live very long and thrive in that role. Its move pool has always felt a little bit limited. So it's just a kind of average bulky attacker, and it's also an average defensive Pokemon. It has like Will-O-Wisp and Pain Split for some form of healing, but it doesn't have any great utility really. The Dusknoir just isn't very functional. Its ability Pressure is also decent, it at least does something. The enemy consumes double PP against you. But it's just not a very exciting ability in modern times. It's not too impactful. It's pretty bad, in fact. Dusknoir is even a rare Pokemon that is worse than a previous stage evolution. Dusclops has similar defensive greatness and can equip an Eviolite because it's a not fully evolved Pokemon. With the Eviolite, its defenses are enhanced even further, and it actually can function decently defensively. It's still not great, but it's better than Dusknoir that doesn't thrive defensively or offensively. Dusclops can at least lean into one of those and function a bit better there. Dusknoir is an unimpressive Pokemon. Plus, I personally prefer the design of Dusclops. It looks more mummy-like. Dusknoir is not a bad design by any means, but I prefer Dusclops. Up next is Drifblim Balloon. I like this Pokemon. It's cool. Ghostly Balloon is fun. Ghost Flying typing is very good. Awkward Pokemon though. You have to give Drifblim respect for being very unique. This guy has a massive HP stat of 150 and terrible defenses. 44 and 54 in its defenses. So it's sort of bulky, but not really. It has some okay attacking stats, 80 and 90 special attack. It has 80 base speed. So this stat distribution's kind of all over the place. It's fast, but not that fast. It's got very average attacking stats, but it can sort of pose a threat with them. And then its HP is massive, but its defenses are low. You sort of get a situation with Drifblim where it doesn't thrive offensively or defensively and is therefore just difficult to use. Its move pool is interesting. It has some great move pool options, like Strength Sap, one of the best moves in the game. Strength Sap will heal your Pokemon based on their enemy attack stats, and then it will lower the enemy attack stat as well. Strength Sap can often full heal you, and is most of the time a much better move than Recover. So that's a great option. You also get Defog for great utility. Will-O-Wisp as well, can't hurt. Drifblim gets some interesting abilities too. It has the ability Aftermath, which deals a bit of damage to the enemy when you get KO'd with a contact move. It deals 1/4 of their max HP. A decent ability. Unburden is also a cool option on Drifblim. Double speed on held item loss, and Drifblim gets acrobatics for some synergy there. And then you get Flare Boost, which is actually an incredible ability if you think about it. While you are burned, you get 1.5x special attack damage. I mean, if a better special attacker than this got this ability, it would be excellent. I mean, think of how good Guts is. This is basically special version of Guts. Drifblim, unfortunately, just isn't that strong as a special attacker with limited options and a low special attack stat. It doesn't often use Flare Boost. But it has used Unburden in the past with acrobatics, and Aftermath is at least something to deal some damage on the way out. So I'm putting Drifblim pretty high here, even though it's consistently rated in lower tiers and is considered one of the worst ghost types. And the reason I'm doing that is because it's at least unique and it has options that others don't, and the typing is good. But the reality of it is that Drifblim is just a weak Pokemon inherently, mostly because of the stats, which are not good enough to really be much of a functional Pokemon. It has these good offensive abilities, but not a high enough stat or moveset options to take advantage of them. In Gen 9, it's best to run Drifblim in a defensive role with a set like this, with Defog and Will-O-Wisp and Strength Sap. But even that is, of course, not very good. Up next is Golurk, ancient golem creature living in a pyramid. Very cool. Golurk is a ground ghost type, which is a promising type combination. Golurk also has the ability No Guard, which is a great ability, causing all moves to be unable to miss. And Golurk has the excellent Dynamic Punch to take advantage of No Guard. That's a fun synergy and it works well with Ghost Stabs. Its Ghost and Fighting are complementary. Golurk also has Stealth Rock and Stab Earthquake and decent coverage. Iron Fist is a nice alternate ability to boost punching moves, such as Ice Punch. So Golurk has some stuff. Unfortunately though, Golurk is average defensively. With 89 HP, and 80 defense and special defense. This is not completely terrible. There are worse, but it's also not very impressive either. It's middle of the road. And Golok is slow with 55 speed. Golok is not as terrible as some of the ghost types I've talked about so far. I mean, ground ghost typing, you can't go too wrong with. It's a stealth rock setter. It has a good physical move pool. But ground typing is a crowded type. There's plenty of ground types that outclass Golok in every tier, especially OU. Golok has no chance in OU because of the great ground types available. So Golok just ends up being low tier in most generations. In all generations, if I'm being honest. Fun Pokemon though, I like Golem character. I would say that Golok is valued. People value Golok. It looks as if it could defend an ancient tomb of a long-forgotten emperor, which has its value in life. It can serve that purpose well, but in a Pokemon battle at the World Pokemon Championship, it would not be as well suited. Golok thrives in ancient coffin defense of the tomb of Tutankhamun. And is that so bad? No, I don't think so. I don't think that's bad at all. That's a very useful niche to fill in society. Up next is Delmise, which I think visually is a pretty fantastic design. It's a pirate-themed fella, with the body being a ship's steering wheel with eyes on it, actually just one eye on it. And attached to it is an anchor. And it also has algae growing on it that resembles a pirate's beard. This is a great Pokemon design. And it's a grass ghost type. I suppose because of the algae as well as it being possessed by a spirit. Perhaps of a sailor that lost its way. Much to think about. Its ability though is Steel Worker, which is a very interesting ability that grants 1.5x damage to steel type attacks. Almost as if it had an offensive steel type. Clearly because it has an anchor on it made of a metal. Delmise has a high attack stat of 131 and fairly usable 100 defense and 70 base HP, 90 special defense as well. It's got sort of middle of the road bulk that is serviceable. It's slow though, and it is fairly limited in what it can do in competitive. But it is a fairly viable attacker and rapid spinner in lower tiers. It has rapid spin, which is nice utility. There's synthesis for some form of healing. Power Whip hits pretty hard, and in Gen 8 it gets Poltergeist, which also hits pretty hard with Ghost Stab. Steel Worker, the ability can feel like a bit of a waste, because you don't always run steel type attacks. You sort of wish this had some useful defensive ability of some sort instead, but Delmise is a reasonably okay Pokemon in lower tiers, but it doesn't have much else to show for its existence, unfortunately. Up next is Runerigus, another ground ghost type. Similar to Golok in many ways, but Runerigus, I think, has better stats. It does have a low HP of only 58, but its defenses are excellent, especially its physical defense, being 145, and a solid 105 special defense as well. Runerigus has Stealth Rock, it has Earthquake and Poltergeist for very nice stab options, and it has Body Press, which is a great fit on a Pokemon with such high physical defense. Runerigus also has the interesting ability Wandering Spirit. If you make contact with Runerigus, your abilities will be swapped. Pretty nice way to remove an advantageous ability from an enemy, and that does have its merit. Regrettably, Runerigus has only existed in one generation, that being Gen 8, and in Gen 8 it is ranked ZU. Suppose pretty bad for that particular generation, but you could definitely see this Pokemon being reasonable in past gens if it existed. Its stats are actually not too bad. It has Stealth Rock and reasonable attacking power, and you gotta remember this was introduced in a gen where Boots came into existence and devalued Stealth Rock, so I'm sure if Boots weren't around, Runerigus would maybe be more sought after. And up next we have Palossand. I love Palossand flavor-wise. Great visual. Sandcastle that has become sentient with a ghostly spirit. This is a beautiful idea. It is a ghost ground type, and its stats are pretty well rounded. It has 85 HP, 110 defense, and 75 special defense. It also has Stealth Rock, but it has healing. On top of that, it has Shore Up, which is actually an exclusive move. This acts like normal Recover most of the time, just healing half of your HP, and that's good enough. But in Sandstorm, you heal 2/3 of your HP. Shore Up is actually the best half HP healing move in the game. It's better than Recover and Soft Boil, just because it has that added bonus of healing more in the Sandstorm, which is strictly better. Not relevant most of the time, but it's a fun little tidbit, I think. Palossand has the ability Water Compaction, which is a unique ability, granting +2 to your defense if you are damaged by a water type move. It's an interesting ability. It's better than nothing, certainly, but I would almost rather they just gave this Water Absorb, which would also fit on the Pokemon and be better, even if it's less original, just because Water Compaction, I mean, you're already taking a big hit from a super effective move. Receiving some defense after that isn't much consolation when you're already having a pretty terrible day, probably at low health from the big water type hit you just took. I can't imagine many scenarios where this has a useful ability, maybe against like Urshifu Rapid Strike, because that's a multi-hit water move, but surely you're still matching up terribly against Urshifu Rapid Strike. You are a mere Sandcastle. I don't think that matchup is going to go very well. I'm giving Palossand reasonable respect here, though, just because it's got decent typing, well-rounded stats, Stealth Rock, healing, and solid stab options. This is a recipe for a reasonably functional Pokemon at lower tiers. Palossand is a castle which represents opulence and the concentration of power in a monarchy, but empires fall and the Sandcastle can be washed away by the waves. And so, with that considered, I would put it about here on my list. Up next is Spiritomb, a fun Pokemon, a bit of a fan favorite as well. People like this guy. Spiritomb is a dark ghost type Pokemon, which, before the introduction of Fairy, was a unique typing in that nothing was super effective against it. It's a pretty fantastic typing in those early games, and this gave Spiritomb a decent initial career. It came out in Gen 4, where it is ranked UU, and it has a viable niche in OU as well, because of its typing that no weaknesses. Its stats aren't the best, there's only 50 HP, but with serviceable enough defenses, 108 in each, some okay attacking stat as well, and that typing, which has its serious benefits, Spiritomb was a functional enough Pokemon to be OU in Gen 4. And in Gen 5, it is not completely terrible either. It's ranked RU and has a viable niche in UU. So early on, Spiritomb was alright. It's nothing special. It has like Shadow Sneak, Will-O-Wisp, stuff like that, Pressure. There's nothing particularly fantastic about Spiritomb, but early on it did stand out for that reason, for its great typing. But of course in Gen 6, the Fairy type was introduced, a new type that was finally something super effective against the Dark Ghost combo, and also a very common type, which didn't help Spiritomb. It's still decent to only be weak to one type, that's still good, but also the power level increased over time and Spiritomb's value just waned as its stats are average, it is frail to big neutral hits, and it's pretty unremarkable utility-wise, so Spiritomb is pretty unimpressive in later gens, but it had a decent early career. And it's sort of cool. I don't mind it. Many people are very fond of the design of Spiritomb. Not sure exactly what it is. Is it a tomb? Can't really make out the tomb part of it. It's sort of just a ghostly face with a funny aura around it. Is there value to a thing like that? Many would tell me yes. People would tell me yes, there is. I respect their right to say so. I respect their right to say that. Up next is Mismagius. New evolution of Misdreavus introduced in Gen 4, and a cool Pokemon, bit of a ghostly wizard. A magician. Mismagius is a mono ghost type with the ability Levitate. Levitate is a great ability, granting ground immunity. And spike immunity and stuff like that. Just a good ability. Those two traits, along with decent stats, like a 105 special attack, special defense, and speed stat, were enough to make Mismagius decent early on. It's UU in Gen 4. Its move pool's pretty good too. Will-O-Wisp, Calm Mind, Shadow Ball, Taunt, etc. It was worse than Gengar back then, of course, but still decent enough to not be a lower tier Pokemon. These days, though, Mismagius is rather outdated, outclassed by other ghosts that have come out since, but initially it was pretty good. I'd put Mismagius about here, I think. Seems reasonable to me. Up next is Decidueye, who I think has a fantastic visual design. An owl humanoid archer with a cape, sort of evocative of a Robin Hood type figure. I think it's great. Unfortunately, in competitive, not so great. Decidueye is another grass ghost type, which we've seen a few of now, and its stats are very middle of the road. Nothing remarkable about this stats. The highest one is a 107 attack stat, which is not very good. Decidueye has a decent move pool though, fairly nice set of physical options. U-turn and Shadow Sneak are always great, and then you got the signature move Spirit Shackle, which is an 80 power physical ghost move that traps the enemy. Very good move, actually. Decidueye also has the ability Long Reach, which means your attacks do not make physical contact. Actually more useful than you think, especially with U-Turn, which many try to punish with contact effects like Rocky Helmet, Flame Body Static, Iron Barbs, etc. Sidestepping all of that is great, it makes your moves more spammable. Unfortunately for Decidueye, it's a tale as old as time. Its stats are not good enough to really do much of anything. It is not physically strong enough to do enough damage with its physical move pool. It's not defensively strong enough to be great in its utility role either. It has Defog, which is useful. It has U-Turn, which is useful. It can heal, but it's not particularly good at anything. A jack of all trades, master of none, you could say. Up next, we've got Mega Banette. The first Mega on the list. For some reason in my Ice type video, I didn't include Megas. I'm not sure what came over me there. Megas count as Pokemon. They exist and are distinct from the originals. Why wouldn't I count a Mega? Banette Mega is here, and it's one of the worst Mega evolutions in the game, unfortunately. Mega Banette is interesting though. It has a very high attack stat of 165, which is a massive increase from its base form. And it has the ability Prankster, which is a very good ability, granting priority to non-attacking moves. There is value to Prankster on this, with Will-O-Wisp gaining priority as well as Destiny Bond gaining priority. And Mega Banette can actually do a bit of damage and then trade itself with Destiny Bond pretty effectively. And that's a frightening thought. It has Knockoff as well, a hard-hitting Stab, Shadow Sneak, and Shadow Claw. But unfortunately, Mega Banette has a very limited physical move pool. Shadow Claw, of course, is not a great attack. It's only 70 power. And the Mega slot is limited real estate. You only get 1 Mega per team. Mega Banette is not exactly the best choice for a physical breaker. There's way better ones out there, like Mega Metagross, and Mega Lopunny, and Mega Medicham, and Mega Gyarados. All so much better than Mega Banette, who suffers from being frail and slow, just like the original Banette, and also suffers from its shallow move pool, with not enough to really even be worth the Mega slot. So unfortunately, Mega Banette is quite low on this list for a Mega anyway. I'm putting it above various other ghosts because it is still impressive stats-wise, and it has Prankster Destiny Bond, which is great. But other than that, it's a rather weak Mega. Up next, Hisuian Typhlosion, a rather disappointing new form of Typhlosion introduced in Legends Arceus, and available for the first time in a mainland game in Gen 9. Hisuian Typhlosion is a Fire Ghost type, which is probably a better typing than Mono Fire, the original Typhlosion was. But Hisuian Typhlosion has no great ability. Its new ability is Frisk, which is rather unremarkable, so it would rather use Blaze, which by modern standards is just not a great ability anymore. Hisuian Typhlosion has most of the tools normal Typhlosion had. It's got the signature move Infernal Parade, which is a pretty good move, but overall Hisuian Typhlosion is just not that fantastic. It's ranked PU in Gen 9, which is pretty low. You might be wondering why I put it so high. I still think it's better than many of these. I mean, Fire Ghost is a good typing. It has Scarf Eruption as an option. It's got a pretty good move pool, so it's PU in Gen 9, but I think if it existed earlier, it would be a pretty damn good Pokemon in lower tiers. You could imagine that. So I'd give it pretty reasonable respect here, despite it being so disappointing in the eyes of many. Up next is Rotom Base Form. You might think I'm crazy here ranking this so high. This is not even supposed to be used. You're supposed to upgrade this to one of its different forms, like Washing Machine form and such. This is just Rotom in its base existence, with inferior stats to its alternate forms. But it sets itself apart from those forms by being Electric Ghost type, which is actually a great typing. It's a better typing than many of its forms. Being an Electric Ghost type with Levitate and the decent move pool of Rotom gives this some merit. In Gen 5 OU, Rotom is actually pretty good. It's a spin blocker that threatens the common water types. It can even switch in on ground types because of its levitation. And it can spread burn, and it can even pivot with Volt Switch. I've seen some solid teams use Rotom as their spin blocker of choice, and it does pretty well, even though it's so frail with dreadful stats. Those immunities and the move pool do a significant amount of heavy lifting for this Pokemon. In Gen 4, it's ranked UU as well. It's funny because in Gen 4, all the Rotom forms are also Electric Ghost, so it's strictly worse than them, but even still, it finds a UU position, which I think is impressive. Now, of course, in modern times, this is a dreadful Pokemon. It's been outclassed by many Ghost types to come, but you can give it some respect for being at least relatively distinct from its different forms and having some value in that context. Up next is Brambleghast, a new Gen 9 ghost type. Another grass ghost type based on a tumbleweed. Love the design, I gotta say, and the name. Brambleghast is interesting. Its stats are pretty average, good attack stat, 90 speed is also pretty fast, considering, but it's got terrible defenses. But Brambleghast has the very interesting ability Wind Rider, which is a new ability in Gen 9. And Wind Rider guarantees an attack boost if hit by a wind move. And that includes Hurricane, which is the most noteworthy. Hurricane is a flying type special attack that would otherwise destroy his Pokemon, but Brambleghast is immune to Hurricane, and in fact gets a boost if hit by it. And that is pretty useful, actually. Brambleghast also has Rapid Spin, which is not too common in Gen 9. It has Poltergeist, which can hit Goldengo and other ghost types trying to block Rapid Spin. You get Strength Sap, great move, and Power Whip for stab as well. I have seen an OU team use Brambleghast, and it was decent. Brambleghast, I think, also gets spikes, doesn't it? It does indeed. So you get spikes to set hazards, too. Brambleghast can be sort of a utility lead that threatens Great Tusk with Stab Power Whip, is immune to fighting and resistant to ground, meaning it matches up well there, and you can even Strength Sap the guy if they would dare to Ice Spinner into you. And then you can Rapid Spin to remove their hazards if they choose to make them. Plus, you can threaten the Goldengo switch in. So Brambleghast is pretty cool, I think. It's a pretty good design, and it has some merit as an OU Spiker Rapid Spinner with unique matchups. It's ranked NU, though, by usage, which makes sense. It's not exactly going to be on every OU team, is it? It's pretty niche, and its stats leave a lot to be desired. 115 attack is pretty good, but you do need a bit more to be viable in Gen 9, unfortunately. 90 speed, also pretty slow by Gen 9 standards, and it's quite a frail Pokemon. It's not great at taking hits. But still, I think Brambleghast is deserving of a bit of respect here for having that unique immunity to Hurricane, which comes in handy, and a pretty impressive move pool. You gotta admit, Spikes, Spin, Strength Sap, Poltergeist, Power Whip are all great options. I actually think this is one of the best Pokemon designs of Gen 9. It's all around just cool and interesting. Its visual design, how it plays, it's all very unique and fun. Fortunately, a good balanced Pokemon design in Gen 9 ends up in NU. That's just how it goes these days with power creep and such. You can imagine this being a pretty cool Pokemon in early gens, couldn't you? This is released in like Gen 4 or something, but that's not the reality we live in. Up next is Oricorio Sensu, the ghost version of Oricorio, a multi-form Pokemon. You may think I'm crazy here. This is a little birdie that many know as being a pretty terrible Pokemon. So what's going on? Why am I putting Oricorio Sensu very high? Well, if this Pokemon existed in the state that it was in back in Gen 7, this would be a lower end ghost type Pokemon. But in Gen 9, Oricorio received an enormous buff with the addition of Quiver Dance to its moveset. One of the best boosting moves in the game. And this was enough to seriously buff all of the Oricorio forms. And Oricorio Sensu, the ghost flying type one, is among the better Oricorio forms. It's a great typing. And it has Revelation chance, which changes type based on the primary type of the Pokemon. Meaning it's a 90 power ghost type attack, which is pretty damn good. That's higher than Shadow Ball, which is used all the time. So it's strictly better than Shadow Ball. I suppose Shadow Ball can special defense drop, but this is still better, the higher base power. You have Hurricane for Flying Stab, which is inaccurate, but it's a good move still. And with Terra in Gen 9, you can even change the type of Revelation Dance and also just make yourself more effective as a Quiver Dancer. So Quiver Dance was such a massive buff for Oricorio. It pushed it way further. It's ranked NUBL in Gen 9 even. So I would give some respect to Oricorio Sensu, which I think can even be used in like Gen 9 UU. I hope I'm not making something up, but with Quiver Dance and how great Revelation Dance is with Terra as well is actually like pretty decent in higher tiers. The Pokemon Logic Defenders are in shambles right now. A little dancing bird is more powerful than an ancient golem made of stone that guards Tutankhamun's tomb. I didn't make Pokemon, okay? It's not my fault. I'm just the messenger of the information. I process the information and I deliver it to you, okay? They did make a little bird more powerful than ancient golem. It's true, but you blame me for this. You often blame me for these things, and I'm not responsible. I am not Game Freak. That's not me. So you wrestle with this yourself. Now, me personally, I accept the fact that Pokemon does not have logical consistency, and I think that Little Bird being powerful comparatively to an ancient golem is actually quite funny and cool. That's my world. I exist in a fun world where things like this are fun and interesting to me. You, however, might exist in a different world where this is a real crisis for you. And this is really breaking what you thought was the truth. You're just suffering from disillusionment now because everything that you thought made sense no longer makes sense. So that you're going to have to grapple with that yourself, and I'm not intervening with that process. That's a mental hurdle that only you can overcome. Up next is Sableye, little gemstone goblin, another dark ghost type. It's a great typing. Sableye has access to the ability Prankster, and Prankster is one of the best abilities in the game, a +1 priority to non-attacking moves. Even though Sableye has dreadful stats, its typing being good and this ability being great gives it some competitive merit. It can heal using Recover with priority. It can burn the opponent with priority. It can even Encore the opponent with priority, which is highly valued. It can Taunt and Thunder Wave. Has a great utility move pool, Knockoff for item removal. So it's a reasonably functional Pokemon, ever since receiving Prankster in Gen 5. It also has a viable niche in Gen 3 OU, purely based on its typing, and access to Recover and Knockoff, which are unique among ghosts. So Sableye is a respectable creature. And visually, how can you not like this design? A little gremlin with gemstone eyes. It's a classic. It's a classic ghost. Up next is the Coffin, Coffagrigus. This is a mono ghost type. It has a low HP of 58 but a high defense of 145. Coffagrigus is famous for having a serious renaissance in Gen 6 OU, where it is actually one of the better defensive ghost types in that game. It matches up well against Excadrill. It can block Rapid Spin. It can spread a Will-O-Wisp, but even has Toxic Spikes for further utility. Coffagrigus having OU viability in Gen 6 is noteworthy. It's also decent in Gen 5 where it debuted. Beyond that, it is pretty low tier though, being slow and frail and having limited healing. But I give it some respect for its OU presence briefly, and among these, it's one of the better defensive ghost types, you could say. It also has the ability Mummy, which, upon making contact with this Pokemon, their ability will be changed to Mummy. Very similar to Runerigus with the Wandering Spirit, but Coffagrigus was the original, and this ability changes their ability to be Mummy, which is a bit different. Wandering Spirit will swap them, so you get their ability. The Coffin is reasonably valued, people are telling me. Up next is Hoopa, who is a legendary, I think, or perhaps a mythical, I can't recall which one. Hoopa is a pretty cool guy. Hoopa has a great special attack stat, an excellent one. 150 base, that's the same as a Kyogre for goodness sake, and it's got a great special defense as well, but it has the dreadful Psychic Ghost typing, which is a real death sentence. You are ×4 weak to Ghost and Dark, which is very bad. Those are incredibly common attacking types. You're ×4 weak to two of the most common types in the game, plus you're only 70 base speed, which is not very good. So despite seeming so promising from the stats, Hoopa ends up being a pretty bad Pokemon. It does see some use sometimes though. I recall Gen 7 OU having some niche Hoopa usage, just because it hits that hard, and it has Choice Scarf Trick as a combo you can take advantage of. Its offensive move pool is decent. You also have the ability Magician. If you have no item, you will steal the enemy item with an attack, so you can run a Citrus Berry or some consumable item and then steal the enemy's item as well, which is quite useful, and I've seen sets use that too. Sub Citrus Berry Hoopa to get the Magician synergy going. That's fun. But the typing and low speed are just such a death sentence. Despite some niche usage, it's not very good, especially not for a legendary, so I would put Hoopa about here. Up next is Shedinja, a famous Pokemon, one of the most unique ever created. Shedinja has only 1 HP, and it can't be given extra HP. It has a flat 1 HP, so any form of damage will eliminate Shedinja immediately. But Shedinja also has perhaps the best ability in Pokemon, Wonder Guard. Shedinja is immune to all attacks that are not super effective. Completely immune, will take nothing from them. So Shedinja is simultaneously like the worst Pokemon ever and the best Pokemon ever, depending on the situation, because Shedinja will die to anything. Poison damage, instant death. Sandstorm damage, instant death. Hazards, instant death. Any attack that's super effective, which is actually a lot. You're weak to Flying, Rock, Ghost, Dark, Fire. That's a lot of types. And they will all result in an instant demise for Shedinja. But sometimes in the right scenario, you will just hard wall the enemy Pokemon. One of the most famous Pokemon that Shedinja can wall completely is Kyogre. Kyogre can sometimes run Toxic, but many Kyogre sets don't. Kyogre usually runs a Water move, Ice move, Electric move. Shedinja's immune to all of that. Shedinja can just wall one of the most powerful Pokemon in existence. That's crazy. You can also wall many Mewtwo sets. You can actually wall a lot of legendaries like Palkia. Palkia can't really touch Shedinja. So Shedinja has viability in Ubers to just hard wall these specific legendaries that don't usually try to cover the Shedinja matchup, because why would you? So Shedinja can just come in and hard counter them and then spread status and be a little bug, a little nuisance. So I think Shedinja deserves some credit for that. It's most of the time the worst Pokemon ever. It will die to a slight breeze, but sometimes it's the best Pokemon ever. In a very specific circumstance where the enemy has nothing to hit it, and you dodge all the residual damage. So Shedinja usually carries an item that blocks it from one of the things it's vulnerable to, like Focus Sash, lets you survive a single hit. Lumberry lets you cure one status ailment so you can not die to Toxic or Will-O-Wisp. Sometimes they run the goggles so they don't get hit by sand. Sometimes they run boots to not get hit by hazards. But regardless, Shedinja in some scenarios can be used in competitive. And sometimes in the right game, Shedinja could be the most valuable Pokemon on the team. A lot of the time it's the worst Pokemon, but that's the beauty of it, I suppose. A truly unique creature, and one deserving of reasonable respect. Up next is Hisuian Zoroark, new alternate form of Zoroark from Pokemon Legends Arceus. Hisuian Zoroark is interesting. It has a normal Ghost typing, which is one of the best typings in the game. Normal grants immunity to Ghost. Ghost itself is weak to Ghost. Normal is weak to Fighting. Ghost is immune to Fighting. They're very complementary. You're only weak to a single type, which is Dark, and you have some fantastic immunities, some of the best immunities a Pokemon can get. Unfortunately though, Hisuian Zoroark is prone to just getting beaten by big neutral damage because it's not very bulky. It has low HP, defense, and special defense. Makes up for that with pretty good speed and special attack, but by Gen 9 standards, not so much. There was a time when Hisuian Zoroark was OU and was reasonably popular, but it has since fallen quite a bit just because there are better Ghost types out there. But still, Hisuian Zoroark is fundamentally a solid Pokemon, you can't deny it. It's fast with good special attack and great immunities. Its move pool is also decent. I think part of its lack of viability is a result of Gen 9's high power level. You could imagine this being pretty damn good in earlier games if it existed. So I would rank it pretty high here, just because fundamentally it's a solid guy. Up next, Alolan Marowak. I've always liked the visual of this guy. Ghostly Marowak with a spectral flame on its bone now. Very fun. This guy's a fire ghost type, and its stats are pretty bad, but it has access to the Thick Club, granting double attack. And that's enough for Marowak Alola to be really, really physically threatening. And it means that Alolan Marowak can function as a wall breaker. Its damage output is such that it can be used in OU on the right teams in Gen 7. It has the ability Rock Head, which makes it immune to Recoil, which is very good alongside Flare Blitz. Without the Recoil, Flare Blitz is a crazy move with 120 power on it and no downside. And such a high attack stat, this is a really strong move. You can use Alolan Marowak as a Sunbreaker, and it functions well. It does. It also has Shadow Bone, which is a above average physical ghost type attack. 85 power, 100 accuracy, and 20% defense drop chance. It's a damn good move. And it's not common to see such a good physical ghost move. So, Alolan Marowak, it's not a very high tier Pokemon, but it has OU usage to speak of, and it has some seriously distinct breaking power that I think is valued. It's not in Gen 9. I'm curious where it would end up in Gen 9. It probably would benefit quite a bit from Terra, and its breaking power would be appreciated. There's a chance I'm overrating this Pokemon, but I think it's damn solid. I think it's really good. And I quite like it also. Up next is Chandelure. I love this Pokemon. All around I love it. Great name, great visual, great concept. Ghostly Chandelier that is Ghost Fire type. How can you not like this guy? Competitive Chandelure has had some struggles. It's one of those Pokemon that's almost good, but it's just not quite there. It's got so much promise, but it's never been great. It has a fantastic special attack stat of 145. 80 speed is probably high enough to pose a threat with that good of a special attack stat, but it's frail. And it's always been prone to its rock weakness and its weakness to water and ground and dark and ghost. It's got bad weaknesses, it's frail, it's sort of fast, but not fast enough. Chandelure can use Flame Charge to increase its speed and be a bit of a win condition. It's got a pretty damn solid special move pool with great stab moves. Choice items are a pretty popular way to go with Chandelure. It does have Trick, so it can trick a Choice Scarf or a Choice Specs. Chandelure is ranked UUBL in Gen 5, and it's UU in many generations, which is still pretty damn respectable. It's a good enough Pokemon to function there in UU. In Gen 9, though, it's all the way down in ZU. Not good in modern Pokemon. And, oh, I didn't even mention that it has some good abilities too. Flash Fire is a great ability. Fire immunity and bonus damage to fire moves if struck. And has Infiltrator as well, which is also great, bypassing Substitute and Screen effects. Much value there, with 2 different good offensive abilities. Chandelure is almost good, but it's just a little bit of an awkward guy. Not quite fast enough to make up for its terrible frailty and defensive shortcomings. Up next is Frostlass, a Pokemon I'm quite fond of. Ice Ghost typing is a lovely combination, an interesting combination. Visual is great. And in competitive, this is a decent Pokemon. Frostlass is known for being a solid hazard setting lead. It has Spikes, it blocks Rapid Spin thanks to its Ghost typing. It has Ice Stab, which is nice in many lead matchups, especially with Icy Wind, which is always useful in a lead situation to lower the speed of the enemy, meaning you can taunt them or snipe them with a Destiny Bond. And Destiny Bond is another great option on this to trade after you've set some hazards and keep momentum up. Make sure that you are ahead of the situation. And this is reasonably functional in many contexts. It was an OU viable Pokemon in Gen 4 before it got caught in the crossfire of a Snowcloak ban, unfortunately. And it's decent in many tiers beyond that as a result of this great utility move pool, and even though its special attack is not very high, it's got a good speed stat and taunt, and just good stab types, which enhance its offensive capabilities more than you would think. I think Frostlass is a solid Pokemon. Not, of course, enough to be higher on this list, but it's about appropriate to put it here, I think. Up next is Jellicent. I gotta say that as I'm making this list, I'm realizing that they are often bringing their A game when they design ghost types. A lot of these are great and flavorful and cool. I guess there's a lot of fun stuff you can do with the concept of a ghost, possessing different objects and be like an interesting spirit. Jellicent, I think, is awesome. Jelly, fish, ghost, creature, water ghost typing. And Jellicent, of course, debuted in Gen 5, where it was ranked OU. Fit very well in that metagame as an answer to rain teams with its water absorbability. It was a good Rapid Spinner too. It's ghost typing blocking Rapid Spin. And it has Recovery, it has Will-O-Wisp, and Scald, which can burn opponents, it has Taunt. Its stats are not incredible, but they're not terrible either. 100 HP is decent, 105 special defense as well, is serviceable. And the typing is also just really, really great defensively. So Jellicent is OU in Gen 5, and it's OU viable in Gen 6, even if it's not ranked there. And then beyond that, it's lower tier, but it's not too bad. It's still got that great typing and great move pool. So Jellicent, I think, is pretty solid and a pretty fun Pokemon. Up next is Mimikyu, one of the most famous recent Pokemon designs. I say recent even though it's all the way back in Gen 7, which was a while ago now. Still relatively recent, you know what I mean. Mimikyu is brilliant, I love it. It's a little ghostly creature mimicking Pikachu to defend itself in the wild, and it also, through this disguise, can trick opponents. It's a ghost fairy type, which is a great typing, and it has the great ability Disguise, which is unique to it, which shields it from incoming damage once. Your first hit will deal 0 damage to you, and then you take a little bit of chip damage as the disguise breaks. But this gives you an entire free turn of setup, giving Mimikyu a little bit of competitive value. It can take that opportunity to Swords Dance, or just go for a 2-hit KO. Ghost Fairy are great stab types, so it's got Stab, Play Rough, Shadow Sneak, and Shadow Claw. It only has 90 attack, but 96 speed is decent, and the disguise ability means Mimikyu is OU viable in a few generations as a sweeper. Also has Trick Room. Trick Room's not great in singles, but often if you're running Trick Room, you're probably running Mimikyu. It fits well on the archetype because it can run the red card, which if you hit Mimikyu will force the enemy to switch and ruin them a little bit, which works great with Disguise. And then you can just set your Trick Room, And then you can run Ghost type Curse as well to sometimes feint yourself deliberately to switch you into something while also applying pressure to the enemy and getting your Trick Room threat in. The Mimikyu can be good on Trick Room teams. Not a great archetype generally, but it's occasionally good. And if you're running it, Mimikyu's a good choice as a Trick Room setter, because that's that complete safety net for an incoming hit and the red card disruption, which actually comes in handy often to bail you out against a boost sweeper or something like that. Great design. Just a great Pokemon design all around, and a respectable one in competitive. Even if it's not like an OU mainstay or anything, it's reasonably respectable. Up next is Poltegeist, Ghostly Teapot. Are ghost types the most interesting Pokemon type? Ghostly Teapot is such fun as an idea, you must admit it. We must admit it. I like this Pokemon a lot, flavor-wise. In many ways, I'm sure the tea is flavorful as well. Poltegeist is getting a pretty high ranking here for one reason. Poltegeist has the excellent combination of Shell Smash, Stored Power, and Weak Armor, which gives it OU value as an incredible win condition. Shell Smash is perhaps the best boosting move in Pokemon, granting +2 special attack, physical attack, and speed in a single turn. It lowers your defense and special defense, but that's a small price to pay to instantly become an earth-shattering threat in one turn. An infamous move that can seriously break the game in some contexts. And Poltegeist then has Stored Power, which grants +20 base power to this attack for every boost you have. Shell Smash gives you 1,000,000 boosts by itself, and then you have Weak Armor as well, which if hit by a physical move, you also gain speed. So that boosts up Stored Power and your threat level on top of that. This alone is just incredible. And then Shadow Ball, of course. Terra Blast is great in Gen 9 to give yourself different typing and a coverage option, fighting being the most popular because it complements Ghost. And the problem with this, though, is that because your defense gets so destroyed by the Shell Smash and Weak Armor, any physical priority move will just end you, which is kind of a problem. But then Poltegeist often is run alongside Indeedee to create Psychic Terrain, granting priority immunity. That combo is incredible as well because it boosts Stored Power even further. Because of that, Poltegeist is actually UUBL in Gen 9, and it's a damn threatening Pokemon. It's got a good special attack too. 134 special attack is impressive. It's a good stat. The Poltegeist, I think, is a surprisingly great Pokemon. Even if this role is pretty niche. It's specifically Psychic Terrain Hyper Offense where you're going to see this. It doesn't really fit on any team or anything. But on that team, it goes crazy. And it's a very good Pokemon. On that specific style of team. Up next, I'm going to put Sinistchar, which may seem odd because in Gen 9 it's technically a lower ranked Pokemon. Sinistea is UUBL, while Sinistchar is UU. However, I think that this is the truth. Sinistchar is a bit more versatile as a Pokemon than Sinistea. Sinistea only fits on that one style of team. Sinistchar, however, has a completely different role. They're actually very different despite being tea-ghosts, both of them. Tea-themed ghosts. Sinistchar is themed around a matcha, which is a more peaceful sort of tea. It's made of grass and such. And it costs $10 to get the matcha latte at the cafe. And it's not very worth it. It tastes kind of bitter. We need to reduce matcha demand so that it comes back to a more reasonable price level, I think. It's not so good that I'm willing to spend that much for it. I don't mind it or anything, but I mean, come on. Matcha prices are through the roof lately. However, none of that applies in the Pokemon world where matcha is actually more affordable and you can just throw a Pokeball at Sinistchar and get a good supply of it. So that's good. Sinistchar is a grass ghost type with a very nice move pool. It has Strength Sap, which is, as I said earlier, one of the best moves in the game, straight up. A healing move that heals based on enemy attack and lowers their attack. Can fully heal you against the right foe, is generally better than Recover. Sinistchar also gets Matcha Gotcha, which is a really good signature move. An 80 power grass move with 90 accuracy that has both a burn chance on it, 20% burn chance, and a recovery effect, recovering 50% of the damage dealt. This is really great. It's doing a lot in one. It's like Giga Drain and Scald combined, which is a really powerful idea. That's got a slightly lower burn chance than Scald and a little bit inaccurate, but it's still incredible compression to have both these effects on one attack. And 80 power is not bad at all. Sinistchar also has Heat Proof, which basically grants fire resistance, meaning you can switch on fire moves and not be ruined, which is really nice on this Pokemon. Also reduces the damage from burn, which might come in handy. Sinistcha is actually pretty commonly used in OU on stall teams and on balanced teams. It has a good type profile, matches up well into Great Tusk and such. It's got a good enough defense stat to be able to survive the coverage like Ice Spinner, and then Matcha Gotcha goes pretty crazy, spreading burn, healing you back up in the process, and also hitting a lot of nice targets super effectively. Matcha Gotcha is good coverage. Strength Sap is always useful. It's a great Pokemon. And one of my favorites from Gen 9, I gotta say. I'm a Sinistcha enjoyer. Much more morally upstanding Pokemon than of course, Poltegeist and that dastardly Iron Mugulus, which we don't talk about often, but goodness, is Sinistcha a more virtuous cup-themed Pokemon than that rat bastard, excuse my French, that little gremlin of a creature. Sinistcha is certainly more desirable. I mean, just look in his eyes. He's got a look of hospitality and of warmth and prosperity. Sinistcha is smart and cool. Up next, we've got the Croc for the PS1. Just kidding, we got Skeledirge for the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. They are different, despite one noteworthy similarity. Skeledirge is a crocodile. My personal favorite of the 3 new Gen 9 starters. And it's an intriguing Pokemon. It's a Fire Ghost type with a defensive lean, which we haven't seen before. This guy has the ability Unaware, which is one of the best defensive abilities ever, completely ignoring stat stage changes from the enemy. They can be boosted to max attack and deal damages if they weren't. Incredibly powerful for counterplay against boost sweepers, and Skeledirge has the tools to be a decent Unaware wall. Its HP and defense are solid. If it didn't have Unaware, these would be bad, but Unaware is such a defensive boost that these are serviceable. The Dirge also has a great move pool. There's Slack Off for straightforward healing, Will-O-Wisp to apply burn, and the signature move Torch Song, which is an incredible signature move. It's an 80 power fire move, 100 accuracy, with a 100% chance to raise your special attack. Yes, you heard that correctly. Torch Song, one of the best special attacks ever made, actually. And what's even better about it is it's a sound move, so it bypasses Substitute. That's another added bonus of this move. Thanks to Torch Song, Skeledirge can not only wall things, but it can kind of be a win con sometimes, because you can just ramp special attack a lot. You also get Hex, which is useful alongside Wisp to do double damage to statist enemies. So Skeledirge is damn solid. It was OU in Gen 9 for quite a while. Now it's UU, not popular in current meta, I suppose, with recent trends being bad for it, like the rise of Ogerpon Wellspring and Gliscor. But Skeledirge, of course, still sees OU play. It's an Unaware wall, unlike any other. It's great to Terra with. With it fairy typing, this becomes even more indestructible. Skeledirge also viable in Uber. In particular, it is a counter to Zacian Crown, which is just incredible. One of the strongest Pokemon ever is destroyed by Croc for the PlayStation. Who knew? Who would have known such a thing? I mean, I could have told you that. Croc is an excellent game that was actually quite revolutionary for 3D platformers, even though Mario 64 gets all the credit. Croc was in development before that and was quite impressive at that time, and despite having a delayed release, actually quite a pioneer in much 3D platforming technology. Most don't realize that, but I realize it. I know about that. So if you ask me, Croc, I think, could easily beat Zacian Crown, who's just a mere dog with a sword in its mouth, not even a pioneer of anything, not even good. And many would criticize Croc having tank controls, but you must understand it was an early 3D game, and they hadn't figured out even control systems back then for the genre. A whole new paradigm shift in gaming, so plus it's still actually pretty well suited to the game where you can actually precision platform. No one asked me about any of that though. No, they're not talking about Croc. We're talking about Pokemon here. I'm not a Croc channel, even though my dreams may have a Croc channel. I'm not a Croc focused channel, so I'll stop speaking about Croc. And did you know also that incredible soundtrack for Croc? One of my favorite soundtracks in a game, with beautiful real instruments and unbelievable jazzy trumpets and piano solos. Truly great musicianship on the Croc soundtrack. No one asked you about the Croc soundtrack, Jim. Get back on topic. Shut up about Croc for the PlayStation. Who the hell asked you about Croc for the PlayStation? Nobody did. Get back to talking about Croc in Gen 9. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I apologize. You want to speak to me about the Croc Cave level? Okay, I'm kidding. No discussion about the Croc Cave level. Skeledirge is good. It can beat Zacian Crown. It can also beat Koraidon. It is fire resistant and immune to fighting. And it has fighting immunity. I just said that. And it has fire resistance. Plus can burn the guy. It even walls Arceus, normal Arceus, ground if you Terra. Skeledirge is good in Ubers, which I think enhances my respect for it. Up next is Ceruledge, who in the last tier shift actually rose back up to OU. Congratulations to Ceruledge. Another fire ghost type with an offensive lean. It has a high attack stat. And it has the ability Weak Armor, which we've discussed before, granting speed. And it's kind of designed around this. You want to take a big physical hit with Ceruledge, maybe even wear a Focus Sash to ensure that you don't perish. And then Swords Dance up on the same turn and then kind of go crazy with your high 125 attack and such great physical moves as Bitter Blade, its exclusive fire type physical move with 90 power and a recovery effect on it. That's above average power for a recovery move, and it certainly helps you recover a bit of health after taking a big hit for them from the weak armor. You got Shadow Sneak with stab and a high attack stat, which always goes crazy, and then Poltergeist is also pretty powerful ghost stab, or run Shadow Claw if you prefer to not get screwed by itemless opponents, which are immune to Poltergeist. Ceruledge is a solid hyper offense Pokemon in Gen 9 that has sort of fluctuated. It's been OU, it's fallen down, it's been UUBL. At the moment it's OU. It's always had a place though, with its great and explosive Swords Dance set that can be a pretty damn impressive win condition. Some also used to experiment with Flash Fire sets and defensive Terra types. That's less popular these days. I pretty much only see the Weak Armor set these days. The Flash Fire sets used to be used. Unfortunately, there's no real way for me to relate Ceruledge to Croc for the PS1. There's no connection, really. You could relate Ceruledge, however, to Mega Man with its battle armor. It does look like it could be a Mega Man boss, which is cool. Mega Man, great game for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Some theorize that Mega Man may have in fact inspired Pokemon, as it had a type system in the game where certain of Mega Man's abilities would match up better against the bosses of different types. A lot of scholars and scientists are watching right now, and they're giving me a resounding round of applause for making such a smart observation. Thank you all. It was nothing really. It was nothing to make the connection between Mega Man and Ceruledge plus Pokemon. That's just how my brain works. I just think of stuff like this. I put things together like a detective in the prime of his career. This is just who I am. Up next is Pecharunt, new Pokemon in Gen 9 that has had good competitive success. Initially, people weren't so favorable towards Pecharunt, but it rose in usage over time as its benefits became clearer. It is a Ghost Poison type, which is nice. Toxic Immunity always comes in handy, and has a great defense stat of 160. This typing and massive physical defense stat allow it to wall key enemies in OU like Zamazenta, Ogerpon Wellspring, some Iron Valiant variants. Pecharunt also has the devious ability Poison Puppeteer, which, if an enemy is poisoned, they will also be confused to add to their suffering, I suppose. I mean, they're already going to die from a poison. You're going to add confusion on top of that to disorient them. It's rather immoral, but it's the reality of what Pecharunt is capable of. Pecharunt also has the incredible signature move Malignant Chain, a poison special attack with 100 power, 100 accuracy that has a 50% chance to apply toxic poison to opponent. Just a truly incredible move that also, mind you, confuses the enemy too. High power, toxic chance, and confusion. Just incredible. The only downside to this really is the low 8 PP. And Pecharunt also has Recover for solid healing, Parting Shot for pivoting, which is great. Makes it a bit proactive, which is important. You don't want to be too passive in Gen 9. You want to be able to pivot out and do stuff. And then Foul Play is commonly used on this as well to deal a bit of damage to an enemy that has raised their attack stat. This comes in real handy. It can also hit Goldengo as it comes in for a bit of damage, which is useful. Pecharunt can also run Hex, works well alongside Malignant Chain. You can also simply run Toxic if you just want to poison more consistently, which is perfectly accurate on a poison type, of course, and has a higher PP. Pecharunt has proven to be a great Pokemon in Gen 9 OU, and a popular one. I'm not sure I respect it that much. It's a bit of a runt, bit of a trickster. Perhaps a bit amoral. Maybe not immoral, but amoral. But that's just the reality. That's the world we live in. Up next is Blacephalon, an ultra beast and a clown. A frightening creature, a strange creature, but I like Blacephalon. It's a fire ghost type as well. And it's a special attack oriented one with a massive 151 special attack. 107 speed, which is certainly good enough to be threatening, especially with such a high attacking stat like this. And you've got a great move pool too. Plenty of stab options. You got Trick for a bit of disruption, Fire Blast. You can even run Flame Charge, and Beast Boost adds to the frightening win condition prospects of Blacephalon as it can ramp as it's attacking. Beast Boost grants a +1 boost to your highest stat upon KOing an opponent. Usually that's going to be special attack for Blacephalon, acting like a magical form of Moxie. Very, very frightening indeed. Whatever you do though, if you're on a first date and your companion asks you what is your favorite Pokemon, whatever you do, do not say Blacephalon under any circumstance. It would be a strange choice in that context. First of all, the name sounds crazy. It's a weird clown ghost creature. This is going to scare them off. What you want to do is say something agreeable like Piplup or Furret or something like that. You do not want to say that your favorite Pokemon is Blacephalon. That is a terrible idea. Up next is Gungwei, the famous Gengar, who you might think is ranked too high here. It's not that great in Gen 9, no. It's been outclassed by many other ghosts, but we need to give Gengar appropriate respect for its legacy, I think. Gengar was the original powerful competitive ghost type, and it has 6 straight generations of OU level competitive viability to its name, which I think is worthy of praise. Gengar, of course, thrived in earlier generations with its excellent ghost poison typing and ability to levitate. It had high special attack, a great speed stat for the time, and a fantastic move pool. Just about everything you could ask for back then. Excellent special attacking options, utility, Will-O-Wisp, Taunt, even Explosion, which hit really hard back then. Gengar regrettably got nerfed enormously when it lost the ability to levitate in Gen 6 in favor of the new Cursed Body, which is far worse. Levitate was part of the appeal. Levitate grants complete ground immunity and also allows you to hover over spikes and such. A perfect option on Gengar, eliminating one of its weaknesses and allowing it so many more entry points onto the field. Even in Gen 3, it allows it to evade Dugtru's Arena Trap. This was a dreadful nerf. Even after this, though, it's still a reasonable Pokemon. It was UU in Gen 6. And in the brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl metagame, Gengar was actually Uber just because that metagame had no ghost switch-ins or something. This is the one and only time I will ever factor in Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl into a Pokemon, because Gengar is a favored creature, so we're going to pull from the ancient files to find a reason to rank it this highly. It's good in Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, it's ranked Ubers, folks. This is noteworthy. Has anyone ever played that metagame? No. However, in this particular case, it's relevant to me. It's relevant to me. If this was a ranking of cultural influence and importance, Gengar would be number 1 on the list as the most recognizable ghost type in Pokemon history with a simple yet iconic design. And it is also kind of the blueprint of what a good ghost type looks like. Gengar walked, so many of these ghost types to pass it could run. Gengar was the original competitively functional ghost. High speed, high special attack, and a move pool sort of themed around trickery, taking advantage of immunities and taunting and will-o-wisping. This was the identity of the ghost type that persisted later. Gengar is a crowning achievement, I think, of the whole Pokemon franchise. It is an icon, and a terribly nerfed Pokemon for no real reason. I suppose the guy doesn't truly levitate, but that didn't matter 5 games in a row beforehand. It's a bit odd in the 6th game to decide this is worthy of change when 5 gens earlier it had levitate and no one really cared. You could have made it levitate if you wanted, but you chose instead to punish Gengar for its greatness. I mean, sounds a bit like you're trying to manipulate events in your favor, Game Freak Company, and I don't know. Sounds a bit corrupt. It sounds corrupt. I'm just going to say so. Oh, some are telling me that Gengar having levitate in its base form would be powerful alongside Mega Gengar, but I mean, come on. Let's be real. That hardly makes much of a difference to anybody's life. That hardly makes much of a difference. Up next is Dragapult, who is sort of like the new Gengar. Dragapult debuted in Gen 8, where it was immediately outstanding. This is a Dragon Ghost type Pokemon, which is a solid combo. Ghost comes with all those great immunities. Dragon typing has nice resistances for further entry points, giving it a good amount of defensive profile. Dragapult has an outstanding stat distribution, 142 base speed being the most noteworthy. That's faster than almost the whole game. It's an incredible speed stat. And 100 special attack is not that high, but it's good enough alongside that speed stat. When you're that fast, 100 special attack is feeling pretty good. You also have a high attack stat on this Pokemon of 120, but limited physical moveset options. Dragapult has Dragon Darts as a physical option, and U-Turn as another noteworthy one, but nothing much else, and I think that's part of its design, actually. It has much more in the way of a special attacking move pool with Draco Meteor and Shadow Ball and Fire Blast and such, Thunder. So it's intentionally limited in its physical move pool. I think that makes it more balanced. Dragapult has Will-O-Wisp. It's one of its best options. The Will-O-Wisp Hex set is a excellent one. U-Turn on something this fast is just amazing. Dragapult is one of the best Pokemon in Gen 8 and Gen 9. I'm sure this is just going to be a competitive mainstay at this point. I can't see this ever really falling off, in truth, unless the power creep in Gen 15 is astronomical. Dragapult seems so solid to me. The ability Infiltrator is an added bonus, granting a bypassing of Substitute and Screens, which comes in handy often. Substitute is an extraordinarily common move in Pokemon. Dragapult bypasses this completely. I happen to quite enjoy the design of Dragapult as well, visually speaking. It is this funny translucent dragon creature with little mates coming out of its weird triangle hang glider head. It's certainly unique, you can't deny that. And the Pokemon overall feels unique for a top tier threat. Feels like it's powerful but balanced, which is rare these days. I like its different moveset variety. I think it's just a good Pokemon design and a pretty fun extension of the fast ghost type archetype. Up next is Aegislash, a Pokemon that is a shield and a sword at once. Aegislash is a crazy Pokemon. It has the excellent Steel Ghost typing, and in its base shield form, it has excellent defensive stats, 150 in both. That is legendary level stats right there. That's already a pretty impressive start. But Aegislash has one of the craziest abilities ever created, Stance Change. Aegislash, if it attacks, changes into its blade form, and its blade form inverts its defenses and offenses. It will now have 150 attack and special attack. And this is just an extraordinarily powerful concept. When you're taking hits, you have great defenses. When you're dealing damage, you have great offenses. It's perfect, and you can revert back to the shield form using the move King's Shield, which operates like Protect, shielding you from incoming damaging attacks, and on contact it will even have the added effect of lowering the enemy's attack stat, making you even sturdier than you previously were. It's just an extraordinarily powerful Pokemon with even Shadow Sneak to make up for its low speed and a really solid attacking move pool. Aegislash, in its debut, was Uber. It was that good. Even though it's not a legendary, it kind of feels like one. It's got the stats of a legendary and this insane ability. Aegislash was crazy. In Gen 7, it's also Uber. They nerfed it in Gen 8. They nerfed it to 140 defense and special defense, and that applies too to its sword form. So in Gen 8, it was not Uber. It was, in fact, UUBL was enough of a nerf. But in Gen 9, if this guy existed, I think it would be Uber again, to be honest. It's not in Gen 9, but I think it will be Uber because of Terra. Terra with this guy would be crazy. It would be an excellent Swords Dance sweeper and a defensive Pokemon as well with this incredible ability. So I would put Aegislash here, one of the most powerful ghost types ever created, and one that was too powerful even for competitive singles in multiple gens. Up next is Goldengo, an earth-shattering new Gen 9 Pokemon that has changed the fabric of reality as we know it. Goldengo is gold coins come to life in the visage of a cheese stringer mascot, and it's one of the best new Pokemon in Gen 9. It has a Steel Ghost typing, which is excellent. And the real crowning achievement here is the ability Good as Gold, making you completely immune to status moves. That includes status inflicting moves, it includes defog most notably, effects like Trick, etc. Goldengo is able to block defog and is also immune to half the damn moves in the game, which is incredible recipe for competitive triumph. Goldengo is the reason that defog is not as commonly seen and why hazard stacking strategies are so powerful in Gen 9, because it can block Rapid Spin and Mortal Spin and Defog all by itself, which is just extraordinarily powerful. Beyond that, it has a solid move pool too. Has a high special attack stat. Its other stats aren't great, but good as gold and the typing are doing heavy lifting to allow it to function defensively. You got Nasty Plot for boosting. Make It Rain is a great signature steel move that has 120 power, and that's extraordinarily powerful in its own right. It only lowers special attack by 1 as well, which is actually much better than Draco Meteor, which lowers by 2. You got Recovery, you got Thunder Wave and such. Goldengo has much to be thankful for, and is a Pokemon that has earned its position in life through hard work. Some say that being made out of gold gives you an inherent advantage, because gold is a valuable asset and therefore you are sought after in society, but I think that Goldengo actually worked for his competitive success through blood, sweat, and tears, and many are trying to say that he didn't, but I think you're just jealous. I think you're just jealous of Goldengo and all that he's achieved. It's kind of embarrassing, actually, that you would suggest that this Pokemon had an inherent advantage in life due to its wealth. No, that's stupid. Don't say stuff like that. This is a Pokemon that pulled itself up by its bootstraps and has not paid off the Smogon Council to prevent it from being banned. That would never happen in a just society. That kind of corruption just doesn't happen, okay? Goldengo is very morally upstanding, very smart, and talented. These are objective truths that are hard to stomach. Up next, we got Necrozma Dawnwings, whose name is so long it goes off the screen on Pokemon Showdown here. Necrozma Dawnwings is one of the worst box legendaries, actually. It's a Psychic Ghost type, and it's pretty much strictly worse than Lunala. It has good stats, of course, being a legendary, but that typing is so terrible, with times for weakness to Ghost and Dark. Lunala can function as this typing because it has Shadow Shield, but Necrozma Dawnwing simply has Prism Armor, which reduces the damage of super effective attacks a little bit, but not enough to really stop it from being a serious problem for me. Necrozma Dawnwings has no real merit in Ubers, and is only really as high on this list due to pure stats. It would, of course, not be appropriate for OU with stats like these, and it's got a pretty impressive move pool, you could say. It can also turn into Ultra Necrozma with the Ultra Necrosium Z Stone, which is good. Maybe there's some merit to having a Ghost type fella that can turn into Ultra Necrozma Duskmane dipped in Mama Liz's chili oil. Longest Pokemon name of all time. But beyond that, there's little merit to a fella like this. There's little merit. Up next, I'm putting Mega Sableye. This might seem pretty high for Mega Sableye. You would be right to question this position, but I'm going to make my case for Mega Sableye being this high. Mega Sableye is an incredible Mega, one of the best. Dark Ghost typing is excellent defensively. It has an incredible boost to its stats with 125 in defense and 115 in special defense. And its new ability, Magic Bounce, is one of the best in the game, bouncing back various advantageous effects to the enemy. This ability is incredible, most notably for its ability to prevent hazards from being set on the field and then bounce them back to the opponent's side. One of the most powerful swing tones you can have is bouncing hazards to the enemy, wasting their whole turn and putting them in a serious disadvantage. Mega Sableye was so defensively dominant in Gen 6 that it was banned, actually. It's Ubers in Gen 6, which is very rare for a defensive Pokemon to get banned, but Mega Sableye was that powerful. Now, Mega Sableye is not banned in OU in Gen 7, but that doesn't stop it from being incredibly powerful in Ubers. And Mega Sableye is even more common in Ubers than Aegislash is, because it matches up well against Primal Groudon. I think that alone is enough to give Mega Sableye some serious respect, that it is a Primal Groudon response. It doesn't quite hard counter it or anything, but in the lead matchup, you prevent them from setting hazards or Toxicant because you have Magic Bounce, and you can Foul Play, which hits them like a truck because it's based on their attack stat. Foul Play destroys Primal Groudon, and you can poison them, which cripples them significantly. Mega Sableye often forces out Primal Groudon. It's not powerful enough to quite one-hit Mega Sableye. Mega Sableye, of course, has great defenses and usually invests fully in physical defense, so you can't actually threaten Mega Sableye with much. You can't make hazards, you can't poison it, so you kind of just have to exit. Mega Sableye forces out Primal Groudon. It also magic bounces various hazard setters like Arceus, and Ferrothorn. In fact, Mega Sableye even matches up well against Arceus, especially Swords Dance normal type Arceus, because you are immune to Extreme Speed, their main attacking move. You are neutral to Shadow Claw, their common coverage, and neutral to Earthquake. And you have Foul Play, which deals massive damage to them as they Swords Dance up, and you of course get Toxic as well. Against more defensive Arceus sets, you're also immune to being Toxic. Mega Sableye just kind of goes crazy in Ubers. I think it's one of the better Megas in Ubers, just because it helps you out in all of these matchups where there's utility Pokemon that have knockoff and stuff. You can't knock off a Mega Stone. They can't do anything to you because of Magic Bounce. And Foul Play just is a great move in Ubers because there's so many Pokemon with high attack stats. You end up being really good in Ubers, Mega Sableye. I would give this Pokemon a lot of respect as being probably the most powerful defensive Mega, and one of the strongest defensive Pokemon in history. You have to remember. Magic Bounce is such an elite move, and your move pool is just outstanding. Recover, everything you really need. Recovery status, Foul Play, which is perfect. It's stab boosted. It punishes boost sweepers. It punishes high attack Pokemon. Mega Sableye, I think, is incredible. I also kind of like it. I don't like it in OU because it was broken, but I like it in Ubers because it feels like it helps in a lot of matchups. And I like its visual design with the big gemstone. It looks through the big gemstone, and it pierces through the veil and sees you for who you truly are, which is somebody that sets spikes on the field or perhaps clicks Toxic. Up next we have Spectria, Ghostly Horse Pokemon, and yet it doesn't get high horsepower in its moveset. Can you explain that one, Game Freak? No high horsepower for the Ghost Horse, and yet Snorlax gets high horsepower? These things just don't add up at all. Okay, this is even more of an egregious mistake and a blunder than Miltank being faster than Rayquaza. The horse not getting high horsepower? It's pure madness. It just doesn't make any sense. Regardless though, Spectria is a powerful Pokemon through sheer stats. The guy has 145 special attack and 130 speed, which is truly elite. It also has the incredible ability Grim Neigh, which is like a special attacking version of Moxie. If your attack KOs the enemy Pokemon, you get a special attack boost. I mean, you're already strong enough, and this is just icing on that cake. Incredible stuff. There is a drawback to Spectria, though, and that is the fact that its move pool is extraordinarily limited. Spectria has very scarce options for attacking moves. Shadow Ball, of course, is its primary attacking move, but beyond that, it gets no good coverage, no fighting coverage or fire coverage or ice coverage or anything. It's Dark Pulse, which is not even very good as coverage alongside a Ghost Stab. I mean, Dark hits most of the same things Ghost does. You get Draining Kiss, solid fairy attack, but not a great fit on this Pokemon that doesn't even really have great defenses. Draining Kiss is more of a defensive-oriented move. Spectria wants high power, doesn't really have such a thing. So this limits Spectria. The Spectria is, of course, powerful enough to be firmly banned from OU, just through Shadow Ball spam and high speed and special attack. It's too powerful, but in Ubers, you never really see this guy. It's outclassed by others, and its limitations catch up to it in the Ubers format. But still a commendable horse, you must admit. A commendable horse. Terra made it better as well, but still. Up next, we've got Annihilape. Annihilape is a new evolution for Primeape, introduced in Gen 9, a Ghost Fighting type, which is an outstanding combo. Incredible offensive profile. Ghost and Fighting are commonly paired together already, so that's perfect. You can operate just on stab damage with this guy. Annihilape has very solid stats, 110 HP, 115 attack, 90 speed as well, which is serviceable. Those stats are solid, but I mean, you might be wondering why the hell is this so high? Maybe you're living under a rock. This is good, but it's not that good, Jim. This is outdoing Spectria? What are you talking about? Well, take a look at this right here. Rage Fist. This move is one of the strongest moves in Pokemon history. Rage Fist starts out as a 50 power, 100 accurate Ghost physical move, but it gains 50 power each time you are hit. Every time you're hit by anything, even if it's a little U-turn or a little tackle. I suppose tackle wouldn't hit you, but you know. You get hit by Water Gun and that'll boost it up. By 50 power, that's a huge boost. And it can scale up to 6 hits, achieving 300 power, which is just ridiculous. And it's not even that hard to get it to 300 power in a game. How do you defeat a Pokemon? Usually by attacking them. So as you try to attack this guy, it's getting more and more powerful with a Ghost move, Ghost being such a good type physically and in general. Terastallization pushes this to absurd proportions because you can just become water, which is a great neutral type, and now you aren't even weak to the incoming hit, and they're just making you more powerful by trying to kill you. Bulk Up makes this absurd as well because you just ramp your defenses up, and if they try to hit you with physical moves, you're stomaching them easily. You can Drain Punch, which is not only great complementary coverage alongside Rage Fist, but heals you back. So now you're even healthier, and you're recovering from all the damage you're taking that is subsequently powering up Rage Fist. Annihilate was this indestructible force to be reckoned with in OU, and it got banned. Even in Ubers, I think it is more meritorious than Spectria and other legendarios like Necrozma Dusk Wings. Dawn Wings, sorry. Necrozma Ultra Dawn Wings. Annihilate is far better. Plus, even further icing on the cake here is the ability Defiant, which is a great ability. Another way that this guy might be brought to justice is with the ability Intimidate to lower its attack and reduce its output, but no. If you do that, it'll just gain 2 attack from the stat drop. Defiant grants +2 attack every time your stat gets low. So even Intimidate is making this guy more powerful. Defog and Sticky Web make this guy more powerful. It's just a ridiculous creature that is way stronger than it seems at first glance. Up next, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put Houndstone here. And there's an important caveat here because Houndstone in its current state in Gen 9 is terrible. It would be lower end on the list. But Houndstone at maximum power is a different story. Houndstone with its option Last Respects is a different story. If you're not aware, the move Last Respects is banned not only from OU but from Ubers. It's so powerful that it's been banned from Ubers. Usually moves don't get banned from Ubers. Usually the Pokemon do sometimes if they're that good, and some moves get banned like evasion boosting moves and cheese like that. Usually not an attack though. Last Respects is that powerful, and what it does is it's similar to Rage Fist. It starts at 50 power. And it gains 50 power for each party member that has fainted. So if all your team has fainted, Last Respects has 300 power. Similar to Rage Fist, but unlike Rage Fist, Houndstone itself doesn't need to take the damage to power up this move. It just has to sack its whole team. And then it has the ability Sand Rush, which grants double speed in the sand. With Sand Rush for double speed and a Choice Band equipped and Last Respects, this little dog could literally solo entire teams extraordinarily easily. Even if they resist Ghost, the sheer power that you have achieved through Last Respects is such that you're probably one-hitting them anyway. Even a Ghost Resist is not helping you. The only real reprieve against this is Normal typing, which is a terrible typing that you don't probably want on your team, or Terra Normal or something, which is just... The fact that you would have to Terra Normal to stop this is such a specific counterplay to this. That's a testament to how strong this is. This was incredibly dominant in OU for about 5 seconds before Houndstone was banned. Then later they banned the move Last Respects instead, which was the whole thing Houndstone was good for in the first place. But I really need to emphasize just how strong Last Respects is as a concept. Even Houndstone, who was not an impressive Pokemon, was unbelievably dominant with this move. Even in Ubers, this is too strong to exist, which tells you a lot, because it just literally destroys everything unless you are Normal type. Being Normal type is the only counterplay to this, which is not healthy. Up next, now we're in the true upper echelon of power here with Giratina, a box legendary, who is a damn good Pokemon, obviously. Box legendaries have outstanding stats, and Giratina is an exception with massive 150 base HP, incredible defenses, solid attack considering. This is a defensively oriented legendary with a Ghost Dragon typing, which is a pretty good typing for the role. Giratina has options like Will-O-Wisp and Dragon Tail and Defog to leverage its defense for some value. Commonly uses Rest as well, just to heal and be a sometimes indestructible wall. This guy has been a decent choice in Ubers for as long as it's existed pretty much, especially on stalled teams. It is pretty great at taking advantage of the ability Pressure with its excellent bulk. That being said, I mean, as far as box legendaries go, Giratina is not the most powerful thing of all time. It's a great Pokemon, of course, but in Ubers, it's not the most commonly seen guy of all time. It works on specific kinds of teams. On many teams, it would be too slow to keep up the pace. It has to be like a full-on stalled team to really get much out of Giratina, but undeniably an incredibly powerful ghost. And a great design, weird six-legged beast from an eldritch horror, something beyond comprehension. You gotta love the Giratina design. Up next is Flutter Mane, which is crazy, but it's true. Flutter Mane is a new ancient paradox form of Misdreavus introduced in Gen 9, and it is just insanely overpowered. I don't know why exactly they gave this legendary level power, but they did. Flutter Mane has a Ghost Fairy typing, which is outstanding, truly elite typing, and its stats are fantastic, with 135 special attack, special defense, and speed. These are literally better than Spectria. It's like a better Spectria all around, especially with the better typing and better move pool. Unlike Spectria, Flutter Mane has plenty of great moveset options like Shadow Ball Moonblast for stab, Psy Shock for some coverage, Power Gem for some coverage, Mystical Fire, Calm Mind to boost itself up, and Fluttermane has the ability Photosynthesis, which grants a boost to your highest stat in the sun, which is great because in Gen 9 Ubers you got Koraidon right there to make sun, to synergize with your Fluttermane. I mean, its stats are already elite by itself, but you get an entire stat boost just by sun being active, which is pretty common. You probably have a Koraidon on your team. It's literally the best Ubers Pokemon. And with a speed boost, it's basically like this guy has a free choice scarf, because speed gets 1.5x from Photosynthesis, so Fluttermane is damn good. It's better than most legendaries in the game in Gen 9 Ubers, even. And it's the most powerful Paradox form. Quite a cut above the rest. It's got it all. It's literally defensively solid, thanks to its typing and high special defense. It's offensively amazing with great move pool, great offensive typing, great special attack. And it even gets the insane Photosynthesis boost. Just all around a near flawless Pokemon. Up next is Marshadow, and it was actually kind of a hard choice to choose between Marshadow or Fluttermane in terms of which is better. I ended up saying that Marshadow was superior for a few reasons. Marshadow is a ghost fighting Pokemon, which we've established is a great offensive typing and defensive. Marshadow has solid stats. It actually has worse stats than some of the Pokemon already mentioned, but they are damn solid. 125 attack, 125 speed is good. Marshadow has the ability Technician, which is a great offensive ability, granting 1.5x power to moves with 60 power or less, which crucially hits Shadow Sneak, turning that into a great priority option, and it hits Hidden Power Ice, or Hidden Power in general, allowing this to actually be pretty strong special coverage for Marshadow. But the real crowning jewel for Marshadow is its move Spectral Thief, which is one of the best moves in Pokemon, even better I think than Rage Fist. Not better than Last Respect, but one of the best ever. Spectral Thief is a 90 power, 100 accurate ghost move that will steal all of the target's boosts before dealing damage. So it's already a solid attack, and it has the unbelievable effect of erasing all of the enemy's boosts and stealing them for yourself. So if against like a fully maxed out Dragon Dance Salamence or something, you just take all of their attack and speed, and then you attack, by the way. So if you steal their attack, you are dealing damage with all of those boosts that you've just stolen. It's an unbelievably powerful move that kind of forces the enemy to rethink if they're going to go for boosts, because Marshadow could just steal them. On top of that, I think you have a better move pool than Fluttermane, with this unbelievable move and close combat as well, which is just incredible fighting stab. Shadow Sneak for Prio means you're always going to be pretty damn threatening to a lot of common Pokemon. Shadow Sneak hits a lot of stuff really hard in Ubers, like Mewtwo, Lunala, Necrozma, all these relevant fellas, and HP Ice with the Technician boost is so useful, hitting like Zygarde Complete and Mega Salamence and other dragons that aren't hit by Spectral Thief or Close Combat. Marshadow I think is just damn good. If it was in Gen 9 it would be better because of Terra. You could Terra Spectral Thief combo would be ridiculous because you'd survive more incoming hits with different typings. So I think Marshadow is actually better than Fluttermane. Up next we have Lunala, the box legendary for Pokemon Moon version, and a truly excellent Pokemon. A truly excellent Pokemon. Lunala is a Psychic Ghost type, which we have mentioned so far, for many Pokemon is a death sentence. One of the worst typings in the game. But Lunala sets itself apart from all of those other ones with its outstanding ability Shadow Shield, which is basically the exact same thing as Multi-Scale. Shadow Shield means that if you're at full HP, you take half damage from an incoming attack. This gives you a massive safety net against any hit, even if it's times 4 super effective. Halving the damage is unbelievable. And Lunala, with its great stats and great move Moongeist Beam, which has 100 power and accuracy and ignores abilities of enemies, which is really good. And this is a Pokemon that has gotten better over time as well. Lunala was already great in Gen 7 with the Shadow Shield ability and its incredible attacking options, and Moongeist Beam, which is such a good signature move. But then in Gen 8 you had Heavy Duty Boots, which now means you can maintain your Shadow Shield much more consistently, much like Dragonite does with its multi-scale. That makes Lunala way better, and then it received as well Agility, which is beautiful. Agility boosts your speed by 2, and you have such a great safety net with Shadow Shield to make sure Agility goes off. Then you can use the Meteor Beam Power Herb combo to not only act as rock coverage, but give you a special attack boost and turn you into a win condition, and then go crazy with Moongeist Beam and the Focus Blast for coverage from there. This set is amazing on Lunala. In Gen 9, of course, there's Terra, allowing you to change your type and get over your one debilitating weakness, which is the Psychic Ghost typing. You can just become something better. Even Rock or Fighting to boost your other options with Stab as well, for double dipping value. Lunala is just a great Pokemon, and it's still pretty damn high on the viability rankings in Gen 9, and it's gotten better over time, which doesn't usually happen with legendaries. but for Lunala it has happened. Up next we have Giratina Origin, who is one of the most consistent legendaries in history. Released in Gen 4, it maintains competitive viability and relevance, even through to Gen 9. And it's interesting because this is so much better than base form Giratina. And it's part of the reason base form Giratina is not as commonly seen, because Giratina Origin is just usually a better version of the same Pokemon. The differences are that Giratina Origin needs to carry the Gracias core to transform into its origin form. And this is kind of a downside because it's not a great item. It grants Dragon and Ghost damage by 1.2x, which is not terrible or anything, but like leftovers or other items would still be better. So you kind of have to sacrifice your item slot to beat Giratina Origin, but the benefits are worth it. Your new ability is Levitate, which is so much better than Pressure, granting ground immunity and spikes immunity, etc. Levitate is always just a really solid ability, even though it's simple. Ground immunity is imperative, and it means now you wall like Grid and Primal in Gen 6 and 7. You can switch in against like Arceus Ground and wall that. Ground immunity. Giratina Origin also gets increased attacking stats. 120 attack and special attack, with now reduced defenses, 100 in both defenses. Its bulk is still incredible. With its high HP, it's not like it's that much worse defensively, and now it poses a threat too. It's just a more well-rounded stat distribution and ability that make it function so much better. Giratina Origin has great attacking options like Poltergeist in Gen 9. It earlier had Shadow Sneak and Shadow Claw as ghost attacking options. It has Draco Meteor, which is always amazing. It has Earthquake, great coverage. Will-O-Wisp is fantastic, always a great utility move to have. And crucially, the guy has Defog ever since Gen 6, which removes hazards from the field. Giratina Origin is one of the best answers to hazards in Ubers. It's a sought after option that not many Pokemon get up there, especially in Gen 9 when Defog was cut by more Pokemon. And Giratina Origin has this great defensive and offensive profile to just function well as a Defogger and get more done. It can status things and shuffle things around with Dragon Tail and hit like a truck with Draco Meteor. Offers priority with Shadow Snake, which actually answers like so many different things in Ubers. Mewtwo, Lunala, Necrozma. Random low health fellas because you just hit really hard with Shadow Snake. It's an amazing Pokemon, one of the most consistent legendaries. Probably will always be viable in Ubers, I would imagine. Just such a good combo of everything you want. Offense, defense, utility. It's all here on Giratina Origin. It's a simple Pokemon, but it's pretty much impeccable for competitive viability. Up next is Arceus Ghost. Arceus Ghost is one of the best Arceus forms. Ghost is an amazing type, so that's no surprise. Ghost Arceus has had success since very early on. In Gen 5, it's one of the best Arceus forms. And in Gen 9, it's still one of the best Arceus forms. I mean, the success of Arceus is no surprise. It's one of the strongest Pokemon ever made with 120 stats across the board, meaning this can be anything. It can be anything. It can be a defensive wall, a utility Pokemon, a boost sweeper, as a special attacker or a physical attacker. Arceus Ghost can block Rapid Spin, crucially. It has Recover, Defog, Stealth Rock for its utility sets. It's a great option for a Calm Mind Arceus, because Ghost-type Judgment is a really hard-hitting attack with a great type attached to it. Ghost is famously spammable. You got Focus Blast for complementary coverage to hit anything that can't hit the enemy through ghost damage. Arceus Ghost got even better in Gen 9 with the addition of Dragon Dance to the moveset. Not much to say beyond that, but for a Pokemon that can be any type in the game, it often wants to be Ghost type. Ghost is a desirable type. And Arceus Ghost is one of the most successful of the Arceus forms. Up next is Basculegion. This may seem crazy above Giratina Origin and Arceus, but I think it's deserved. When we consider Basculegion at its max power, with Last Respects available to it, this Pokemon is literally the reason Last Respects got banned from Ubers. It's because of Basculegion. Now, Houndstone is formidable in its own right with Sand Rush, but Swift Swim is just way better. Swift Swim grants double speed in the rain, so Basculegion can be used in Ubers alongside Kyogre, who is already a great Pokemon. You don't have to run like a Hippo or a Tyrannosif or something to get value out of the double speed. You can just run Kyogre, and if rain is up and you got Basculegion, it is so insanely powerful as a win condition. Literally tearing through the strongest legendaries in the game with the amount of power you can achieve. And it was for this reason that you gotta run Terra Normal or a normal type of some sort in Ubers, and you gotta maintain it to prevent the Basculegion end game. It was so unhealthy, so ridiculously dominant that they had to ban Last Respects for Ubers, which I just want to emphasize that this does not happen often. You don't ban an attack from Ubers usually. It's pretty ridiculous that a move is so powerful to this extent on even Basculegion, and I'm grouping Basculegion together here because even Basculegion female would be the same. The attack stat doesn't matter when you have a base power of 300. It just, even Basculegion female would be clicking Last Respects and destroying the strongest creatures of all time. So both of them belong here. Basculegion male is obviously better for its higher attack, but still, attack barely matters with Last Respects. And with Swift Swim, it's just a better synergy in Ubers. We can scarcely imagine what a Chlorophyll Last Respects Pokemon would be like with the Koraidon support. Goodness gracious. I may seem crazy, but I literally think that this is where you rank Last Respects Basculegion. I think it was that ridiculous. Up next we have Mega Gengar. Mega Gengar was among the most powerful Megas in the game. It probably is the most powerful Mega, isn't it? Besides Rayquaza, of course, who is a tier above. But aside from Rayquaza, this is the best Mega available. And all you have to do really is look at its stats and ability for me to justify myself here. 170 base special attack is absurd. And it's not like it's slow either. At 130 speed, faster than most things of all time. So you are incredibly fast and unbelievably hard hitting. And then guess what your ability is on top of all that? It's Shadow Tag, which is, you know, one of the strongest abilities in Pokemon history, at least in competitive singles. Shadow Tag prevents the enemy from switching. And Shadow Tag was a problem on crappy Pokemon like Wobbuffet, who don't even have any moves. It was ban-worthy then, because you can trap the enemy and guaranteed eliminate things that your team can then take advantage of that. Gothitelle was too powerful with Shadow Tag to be allowed. This is not an impressive Pokemon, a Psychic type with average stats, but it has Shadow Tag, so it can just trap things and prevent them from doing anything. But now look at this Pokemon having Shadow Tag. It's unbelievable. Mega Gengar is taking advantage of a Pokemon ability so broken that you don't even have to be good to thrive with it. Literally, Wynaut was strong with Shadow Tag. Not even kidding. The Mega Gengar is like unbelievable with Shadow Tag. Beyond comprehension. Mega Gengar exists in only 2 gens where it is high tier. I believe Mega Gengar is S rank in Gen 6 and A+ in Gen 7, on the truly metagame defining level of those metagames. Unprecedented levels of power. And remember, this is Gengar's move pool you're taking advantage of with like every special attack you could ever want. And Thunder as well to trap and eliminate Primal Kyogre, because they make the rain for you. Absurd levels of strength, incomprehensible. And it may not seem conceivable for any Pokemon to be stronger than Mega Gengar, but there is one. The most powerful ghost type in history, one of the most powerful Pokemon in general, is Calyrex Shadow Rider. Calyrex Shadow Rider is insane. This is yet another psychic ghost type, and the way that this Pokemon makes up for its debilitating typing is just being absurdly overtuned in every single other aspect. Calyrex Shadow Rider has ridiculous stats with 165 special attack, through the roof. 150 base speed is also completely insane. So it's firmly outrunning and threatening just about everything. And the downside of Spectria was that it has no moves, except for Shadow Ball. Calyrex Shadow Rider has even higher stats than Spectria, and it has moves now. It has the signature move Astral Barrage, which is 120 power, ghost type special attack with 100 accuracy. It's just insanely strong. I mean, Shadow Ball's already good. This is way stronger. And in doubles, this also hits both foes, which is ridiculous. That's crazy. Now you have Grass Knot for coverage, because you get the Calyrex move pool, since you are as one, of course. You get Psychic for further coverage, and that's about all you need, really. All Spectria needed was like a couple of coverage options to function, and that's what Calyrex Shadow Rider has. You have As One, which just combines Grimnay with Unnerve, so you get that special attack boost, and you prevent berries, which might actually be relevant if they're carrying like a Cassib berry to prevent ghost damage. That doesn't even work. And in Gen 9, of course, with Terra, you are pushed to absurd levels because the one weak point, which is like Shadow Sneak to hit ×4, can be ignored by just terrestrializing to a type that resists Ghost or Dark. And that's pretty damn easy to accomplish. And it's very good on this Pokemon that is fast and ramps with As One, Grimnay. There's no doubt that this is the most powerful ghost type. In fact, in Gen 9, it is banned from Ubers, which only a few Pokemon ever have been banned from Ubers. And there you have it, folks. Every fully evolved ghost types, this time including Megas and including Silvally and Arceus. What did you think of my list? Do you disagree with any of my placements? Did I overrate Banette? It's possible I overrated Banette. That's possible. That's one of my defining characteristics, is that I overrate Banette. People know this about me, but what about you folks? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. I'm planning to make this into a series and do every type. That might take me a while. This was already a long one, and Ghost has one of the lesser amount of Pokemon in the game, so we can scarcely imagine the water type video, but that'll come one day. Thank you for watching, folks, and I'll see you next time.